understandable English podcast.
Learn English the easy way.
So I am currently broadcasting from the floor of my apartment, and I just want to say the floor is vastly underrated as a piece of office furniture.
You bought a standing desk yesterday. You were so incredibly excited about it. You even sent me a picture of the boxes. Why are you on the floor?
Exactly. Welcome back to the Understandable English podcast, by the way. Whether you are listening on your morning commute, doing the dishes, or sitting completely exhausted on your carpet like me, we are so glad you are here. And yes, I bought a standing desk to finally fix my life.
I feel like we need a little more context here. You told me this desk was going to give you endless energy, fix your posture, and change your entire workflow forever. You were very confident about this purchase.
That was the promise. I watched all these internet videos about how sitting is terrible for you and standing somehow unlocks your brain's true potential. So I spent 3 hours building this heavy desk. I finally plugged it in, raised it to the standing position, put my laptop on it, and stood there. For exactly 11 minutes.
11 minutes. That is an incredibly specific and remarkably short amount of time. Did your legs just give up, or did you realize that standing while typing is actually just a lot of unnecessary work?
My legs, my back, my spirit, everything just completely gave up. I suddenly felt this overwhelming, crushing exhaustion that I could not ignore. It turns out I wasn't lacking a standing desk. I was just profoundly tired from months of terrible habits. So I pushed the electric button, watched the desk slowly lower all the way down, sat cross-legged on the carpet, and I have been working down here ever since. I even brought my coffee down here.
Honestly, if anyone listening right now has also bought a piece of exercise equipment or productivity furniture and used it for less than 20 minutes, please tell us in the comments. We love knowing we are not the only ones who do these kinds of things.
I feel so seen right now. But it really made me stop and ask myself this huge, echoing question. Why am I always tired? It is not a normal tired. It is a deep, heavy feeling. I just end up feeling completely drained by 2 in the afternoon, no matter how many hours I actually slept the night before.
That is a really common feeling, and I think a lot of people struggle with it every single day without realizing why. There is actually a big difference between being sleepy and being tired. Sleepy means your body physically needs sleep right now. It is a basic biological drive. Tired is more like your energy battery is completely empty, even if you just woke up from a full 8 hours of rest. You just have no fuel left in the tank.
Yes, that is exactly it. I wake up sleepy, I drink my morning coffee. I am no longer sleepy, but I am immediately tired. It is like the weight of existence just drops onto my shoulders the moment my eyes open. I run out of energy before I even unlock my front door to leave the house.
I think a lot of that comes from what I like to call energy leaks. We have these hidden daily habits that just secretly drain our batteries without us even noticing. I actually had to figure something out last month because I was feeling exactly the same way you are describing.
Wait, you were feeling this way too? You always seem so perfectly balanced and calm. You are like a human calendar of productivity. What could possibly be draining your battery? You literally drink herbal tea and do morning yoga.
Thank you, I think. That is a nice compliment. But no, I was really struggling behind the scenes. I realized my biggest energy leak was my evening routine. I was trying to do all my heavy house chores right before I went to bed. I would do a load of laundry, scrub the kitchen counters, vacuum the rug, and try to organize all my bags and meals for the next day. I thought I was being a highly responsible adult.
That sounds incredibly responsible, though. You are supposed to clean up before you sleep so you wake up to a nice, clean house. That is what all the successful people in magazines say they do to stay productive.
It sounds responsible, but it was really taking a toll on my sleep quality. I was running around the apartment, stressing myself out, trying to make everything perfect. And then I was getting into bed with my brain fully activated and my heart beating fast. I was physically exhausted, but mentally I was running a marathon.
Oh, I completely see what you mean. Your physical body was lying in bed, but your brain was still standing at the sink, doing the dishes and worrying about tomorrow's busy schedule.
Exactly. So I decided to cut back on evening chores entirely. I moved them all to the morning. Now, wiping the kitchen counters or folding a few shirts is actually a nice, slow, quiet way to wake up. My evenings are strictly for reading or relaxing, and my energy levels have completely transformed.
That is so incredibly smart. Meanwhile, my evening routine is basically a masterclass in how to completely ruin your next day. I eat a giant bowl of sugary cereal at midnight while watching extremely loud and stressful cooking competitions on television.
Well, that might actually be a huge part of your problem. Your brain thinks you need to cook a gourmet meal for 50 people in 20 minutes, and your stomach is busy processing a mountain of sugar. You are basically asking your body to prepare for a major emergency right before you try to go to sleep.
It really feels like an emergency, though. If the television chef doesn't get the sauce right before the timer runs out, I feel that panic deeply in my soul. But you are completely right. The late-night screens, the bright flashing lights, and the sugar definitely destroy my energy for the next day. I just feel like I desperately need that fun time for myself after working so hard.
There is actually a psychological term for that behavior. It is called revenge bedtime procrastination. You feel like you did not have enough free time or fun during the day, so you steal that time from your sleep schedule at night. You stay up late just to feel like you have some control over your own life.
Wow. Okay, please do not analyze me so accurately on a public podcast. It actually hurts a little bit because it is so true. That is exactly what I do. I refuse to go to sleep because going to sleep means waking up and starting the whole stressful work cycle over again. So I just stay awake watching chefs yell at each other until I burn out completely and pass out on the sofa.
It becomes a vicious cycle very quickly. Because you burned out the night before, you wake up exhausted, you survive purely on caffeine all morning, you crash in the afternoon, and then your tired brain panics and you buy a standing desk hoping it will magically fix your biology.
The standing desk was a legitimate cry for help, Jessica. I really thought it was going to save me from myself. I even bought a special anti-fatigue mat to stand on, so my feet would be comfortable. Now that mat is just an expensive, squishy carpet for my sad new floor office.
I think we all look for those magic solutions when we are constantly tired. We buy expensive vitamin supplements, fancy sleep tracking watches, or special sunrise alarm clocks, because fixing our fundamental daily habits is really boring and difficult. It is so much easier to click buy on a desk than it is to actually turn off the television at 10 o'clock.
It is way easier. Buying things gives you a little hit of dopamine. You look at the online store and think, this piece of wood and metal will solve my 5 years of sleep debt. I will be a new, healthy, highly productive man. And then 11 minutes later, you are staring at the ceiling from the floor, wondering where your life went wrong.
Let's talk about the caffeine too, because you mentioned surviving on it earlier. The type of energy coffee gives you is very different from natural, rested energy. How much coffee are you actually drinking during a normal day? Please be completely honest with me.
I really do not know if I want to answer that on the internet where strangers can judge me. Let's just say I have a large morning cup to survive waking up, a mid-morning cup to start working, an after-lunch panic cup because of the daily crash, and sometimes a late afternoon cup just so I can finish writing an email.
Brian, that is 4 large cups of coffee. You are basically putting fake nervous energy into a broken biological system. When that much caffeine finally wears off, you don't just return to a normal level of tired. You crash significantly harder than you would have without it.
The afternoon crash is legendary, I have to admit. At around 3 o'clock, my brain just uninstalls itself. I stare at my computer screen and literally none of the words make sense anymore. That is usually the exact moment when I start looking at online shopping websites to buy things like standing desks and ergonomic chairs.
This is all making perfect sense now. If you're constantly running on fake chemical energy, you never actually figure something out about your real, natural energy needs. You are just masking the deep exhaustion with a strong stimulant, over and over again.
So what is the actual solution here besides giving up my midnight cereal, my stressful cooking shows, and my 4 cups of coffee, which honestly sounds terribly sad and boring? How do I actually get real, sustainable energy back into my daily life?
I think it starts with accepting that you simply cannot cheat your basic biology, no matter how hard you try. You have to look closely at what you eat, how consistently you sleep, and how you manage daily stress. If any of those 3 things are completely out of balance, no expensive gadget in the world will save you.
It really is the heavy weight of existence. Modern life is just inherently exhausting. We are constantly looking at bright screens, answering text messages instantly, reading terrible global news, and trying to be hyper-productive. I genuinely believe our human brains were not built for this massive amount of daily input.
You are absolutely right about that part. The mental load of modern life is huge, and it constantly drains our background energy. That is exactly why creating small, quiet boundaries is so important. You have to actively give your brain time to be completely offline, without a screen, without a task, and without incoming information.
Maybe my new floor office is actually a step in the right direction then. When I am down here on the carpet, I feel closer to the earth. I am grounded, literally. I am operating at a lower physical level, which means my brain can finally rest.
I absolutely love that you are trying to reframe your completely failed furniture purchase as some kind of deep spiritual journey. But yes, sitting quietly on the floor is probably much better for your tired brain than watching a screaming chef on television at midnight.
I also tried another sleep hack last week before the standing desk. I bought this extremely loud white noise machine that was supposed to sound like a gentle forest rain. Instead, it sounded like a heavy military helicopter was landing in my bedroom. I woke up more stressed than when I went to sleep.
That is exactly what I mean about buying solutions instead of changing habits. You added a loud machine to your bedroom instead of just making the room quiet. Sometimes removing things is much more effective than adding new things to our daily routines.
Wait, have you ever bought something silly when you were tired? You cannot just judge my helicopter machine and my standing desk without confessing your own mistakes.
Oh, absolutely. Last year, I downloaded this extremely complicated habit tracking application on my phone. It was supposed to optimize my entire life. I had to log every single time I drank water, stood up, read a page, or blinked. It completely stressed me out. Checking the app just became another exhausting chore that drained my energy.
See, we are exactly the same. We both tried to buy our way out of being tired using modern technology, and it completely backfired on both of us. It just adds more mental weight to an already heavy existence.
Exactly. The real solution is always simpler but somehow harder to actually do in real life. We just have to protect our rest and stop treating sleep like a punishment.
Speaking of things that are good for your brain and routine, learning and practicing English is definitely one of them. If you guys are finding this conversation helpful, or at least a little bit entertaining, please hit the like button and make sure you are subscribed. It really helps the channel grow, and it genuinely gives us the natural energy to keep making these episodes. Without the coffee.
Or at least with slightly less coffee in Brian's case. It really does help us out, so thank you to everyone who supports us. So, before we wrap up today's free therapy session disguised as an English podcast, we should probably do our vocabulary review.
Yes, we naturally use some really great conversational phrases today. Let's start the vocabulary tour. I will give you the very first one. The phrase is burnout.
To burn out is a very common phrasal verb. It means to become completely exhausted or physically sick from working too hard or stressing too much over a long period of time. For example, if you never take a vacation and work late every day, you will eventually burn out.
Exactly. It is a feeling of having zero fuel left. The next phrase is figure something out. This means to finally understand a confusing problem and find a solution for it. My simple example is I couldn't understand why I was always so terribly tired, but I finally figured it out.
Our third phrase today is run out of. This simply means to finish your supply of something so there is absolutely nothing left. For example, we ran out of milk, so my poor friend could not eat his midnight sugary cereal.
A true nightly tragedy. Next up, we have the phrase end up. This means to finally be in a particular place, state, or situation, especially when you did not plan for it to happen that way. Like, I bought a very tall desk, but I ended up sitting on the floor.
That is a perfect and very true example. The next phrase is cut back on. This means to consume less of something or do less of an activity to improve your current situation. For example, Brian really needs to cut back on his afternoon coffee if he wants to sleep better.
I refuse to acknowledge that very accurate example. But the final phrase is take a toll on. This means to have a bad or damaging effect on someone or something over a long period of time. My example, staying up late every single night, definitely takes a toll on your overall health and energy.
Those are excellent natural phrases for talking about daily routines, work, and stress. We really recommend practicing them. Try using one of them in the comments below. Tell us about a bad habit you want to cut back on, or a funny time you ended up doing something completely unexpected.
And please, please tell me I am not the only person in the world who has bought a completely useless productivity gadget when they were tired. Let me know what silly thing you bought and how long it took before it became a very expensive clothes hanger.
Well, I think that is all the natural energy we have for today's episode. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, sharing your time, and practicing your English listening skills. Remember, it is completely okay to be tired sometimes. Just be kind to your body.
And maybe save your money and don't buy a heavy standing desk at 3 in the afternoon. We will see you guys in the next episode. Have a truly great week, and please, try to get some decent sleep tonight.
Goodbye, everyone. Take care and see you next time.
So I finally figured something out. I need to cut back on coffee so I don't burn out. Because otherwise I just run out of energy, end up on the floor, and let the carpet take a toll on my knees.
We really need to buy you a comfortable chair.